first of all, if you have something to say, please step up to the microphone over in the middle of the floor there and state your name and address so we have it for the minutes. Second of all, we're trying to limit individual public comments to 3 minutes per comment, so please try to be concise. And also, we'd like for people not to repeat each other, like say the same thing over and over again. So if someone is saying exactly what you want to say, we'll have you raise your hand or something so that we know that you are in agreement with that. With that, let us go to Alan, I believe, is going to do the roll call. Oh, pardon me, roll call. We got 2 roll calls now. Okay, how do you want to do this? Who goes first? Okay, Deb first. Here.
Amy Davis, Tony Durst, Bill Gogolewski, Steve Herman, Pat Kaufman, Bill Miller, Terry Rule, Megan Schussler, Terry Wohler.
All right, there's no minutes to review, so let's go to city staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alan Davis, Community Development Director with the City of Oshkosh. I have a few PowerPoint slides to identify the project that we're talking about, and Mr. Burrich will help me go through this. The land disposition, 35 acres plus or minus. It's identified as part of Lakeshore Municipal Golf Course. You can see the surrounding land use is the zoning that shows on this map, and the land use is institutional parkland around the 35 acres. We also have a mixture of suburban commercial to the south, some residential to the south, and to the southeast. You can see that the parkland connects to Rainbow Park that connects all the way over to Congress Avenue Bridge. It's bordered by I-41 to the west, Lake Unimore to the north, the other private development that fronts on Oshkosh Avenue in that particular case, and the residential neighborhood to the east, kind of centered on Lake. Our comp plan identifies this area as Parks Recreational Open Space. If this project would proceed, we would be coming back with a comprehensive land use plan amendment for your consideration. At this point in time, we felt that was premature until we actually hear from Oshkosh Corporation as to whether they've selected Oshkosh for this particular site. As you can see, everything at the golf course and Mary Jewel Park and Rainbow Park are identified as Parks Recreation and Open Space. Here's an aerial photo that shows you the development on the site itself. There are golf course features that include the holes, tees, greens, fairways, and water hazards, as well as the surrounding land uses. You can see the commercial along Oshkosh Avenue, the residential to the southeast there in the neighborhood, as well as to the north with the river frozen in that particular photo, and I-40. Here's the concept plan that we've been working on over the last month. This identifies the global headquarters campus there in the center with the yellow boundary line that identifies the other improvements that the concept plan is identified on their building, their parking lot, the roads that would lead to it, showing Westfield to be extended to the north, show Keller to be extended to the north and east, to intersect right at the entrance of the headquarters campus. Sewer water, storm sewer would all be taken care of as part of this project. You can see some of the water features and new water features that would be created potentially as part of this project. Of course, any final design has not been done. This is all concept plan at this point. You can also see the commercial development that we've identified on Oshkosh Avenue that stretches from Westfield west all the way to I-41. Mary Jewel Park would remain with the baseball diamond. The Riverwalk would be extended along the lake shore from I-41 and the Tribal Heritage Trail east all the way over to Rainbow Park, approximately where Panopa comes through. that would connect the future trails of Rainbow Park and future trails on the balance of the golf course property. We've also moved the potential launch points for the boats and kayaks and canoes there to the end of Panoqua, based on comments from the public. Here's a view, a 3D view from the other side, looking at the same location. You can see in the center, the yellow line is the land disposition in question. You can see the Oshkosh Corporation headquarters site as well as the parking lot. This is their conceptual plan. Their final plans have not been developed yet for this site. You can also see what we're expecting to have for any kind of, I'll try to speak. The Riverwalk would be extended there. You can see it a little easier, clear from this perspective, from I-41 east over to Rainbow Park, as well as the idea about more trails that would be constructed on the balance of the property. That's all the comments I have at this point. The council will be entertaining the actual project with the TIF incentives, the TIF plan, the other infrastructure improvements at their Wednesday special meeting at 5:30 at City Hall. That would be in room 406. So that is the council's purview tonight. The Planning Commission and the Parks Board is looking at the land disposition as part of the project, and I believe this is the purview of the Parks Board and the Planning Commission at this point.
Could you, before we get to other technical questions, could you explain to people what a land disposition is?
Yes, land disposition is a process the city goes through to dispose of city-owned lands in the city. Once in a while it comes up for small little pieces of parkland or unused land that the city doesn't have, and we do go through a process that we run it through the board or the commission that has oversight. In this particular case, it would be the Parks Board. All the land dispositions do come to Planning Commission with a recommendation that then goes to council. The city council does have the final jurisdiction on any land disposition.
All right. With that, technical questions from either the Parks Board or the Planning Commission. Kathy and then Jeff.
Might have to turn the mic on.
Oh, no, that's good. All right. Oh, is that one working? There you go, please.
This is 35 acres plus or minus. I explain what that means. And core part of the vision, extra 5 acres, and move it a little piece south toward
Close to your mouth like this.
I think the question was, where did the 35 acres come from? That was the first question, and the 35 acres is based on input we received from Oshkosh Corporation during the concept plan review. So the 35 acres is based on their request at this point. The exact measurement is still to be determined because we have not sent any surveyors out to the site, nor has Oshkosh Corp sent any surveyors out to identify exactly the boundaries. When those boundaries are identified, then we know exactly how many acres we're talking, because this is basically taken from aerial photos, an approximation of what that acreage would be. The question was, why did there's kind of a jut down to Oshkosh Avenue, which would be near the intersection of Westfield and Extended Keller. That was to make sure that we got the access to both roads at that point. And we actually moved Keller a little further to the south, so that extended their lot a little further to the south as well, because they needed frontage on a public road.
Jeff?
Yeah, this position is primarily just for Oshkosh truck. This for
That is correct. That's the way the city's proposal to Oshkosh Corp is just for Oshkosh corporations, not any land disposition for any other user. Yes.
All right, other technical questions? Yes, sir.
Alan, is looking at the footprint up there, looks like an awful lot of concrete or parking space. Has anybody ever thought about a parking ramp to take less of a blueprint or a footprint off of that?
The question, yeah, I think everybody could hear that one. The question was, yes, people have looked at that. Parking ramps are very expensive, so that would be a site preparation cost that I don't believe Oshkosh Corp or the city is prepared to pay. But I can tell you that they have agreed to do sustainable design, which means the potential for more green space within those parking lots and bioswales to treat the water before it actually leaves the site, and to retain as many trees and tree canopy as possible. I can tell you that the city is also planning on treating all the stormwater runoff with probably a stormwater management system, so that the amount of impervious surface created will be, all that water will be treated by the city in a regional stormwater management pond. That would also include the frontage on Oshkosh Avenue, so there'd be basically the city's responsibility to treat all the commercial and the office development, the stormwater, so it gets clean before it goes out to the lake and to the river.
And so the city's responsible for that?
Yes, that's our proposal to Oshkosh Corporation, is that the city stormwater utility technically would be responsible for capturing that water and treating it before it was released into the lake.
Other technical questions? Jeff, back to Jeff.
Yes, some of the 65 acres will be used for stormwater management. We are looking at using those existing stormwater ponds that are around the golf course to see if we can modify those to serve as that, because there are existing water features that could be modified to meet in our requirements. Absolutely.
Other technical questions? Yes, John.
Yep. They do have, if you recall the first concept, and they were looking at 5 or 6 acres of expansion area. At this point, they're including that expansion area in this purchase, and there wouldn't be a second purchase of an expansion area. That is included in this area. That's what they've expressed to us. They're only interested in the 35 acres, which takes care of their first phase expansion, if you want to call it something like that.
Jeff, you have another question?
Yes. Yes, Oshkosh Corp needs to prepare their own site plan for their 35 acres, and there's nothing planned beyond their campus for any kind of other commercial use. Other alternative was rejected, basically, and we're down to, you recall it was concept one that was in the green. That's what this one is modeled under, based on minor changes to the location of the street and a few little minor changes. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Alan, can you give us a timeline on when this all happened? I know we had our meeting back, on October 4th?
Yes.
I think with the 2 drafts. What was the timeline before that, that the architects were given to bring the 2 proposals to us?
I want to say we authorized Halcyon and Levine to start coming up with the concept plans probably 2 or 3 weeks before that.
So it only took them 2 weeks to come up with the concept plans?
Yes,
Okay, and then they remodified everything for this one?
yes,
Okay. So it doesn't take long?
correct.
Thank you.
Although it was quite intensive work for those 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, Tony.
Where does the public access the parks in this scenario? I can't quite tell that on the picture.
Let's see, the access would be there at the end of Pinocchio. It looks like we have a Pinocchio. There'd be a new parking lot. We're also looking at additional parking around Mary Jewel is what I remember, which would be where the lift station / bathroom facilities would be created. And then each road, Westfield and Keller, would include parking on one side of the street. And if I recall, number 22 on the map, which is basically just to the east of La Quinta, on Rath Lane, there's a little parking area there as well.
Have you studied, is that enough parking for the size of a park or outdoor space?
I wouldn't say I know anything about the parking needs. That's kind of dependent on the parks board.
Ray, can I ask you, we're going to do a complete plan, is that accurate? We're still going to do after the disposition of the land? We're going to start all over and do a complete comprehensive plan for this park?
Yes, that's what I wanted to state was, this is all conceptual at this point. As Plan Commissioner Tomes had stated, we had originally 2 proposals or 2 concepts that came forward, and ultimately public input, and I think the council actually weighed in saying, if we are going through with this, it's going to be park space and green space for the general public. So yes, if it goes forward, we would, as the park board then, work with the consultant to come up with a park plan which would deal with access, if there's additional parking. But the roadway connections, as Alan said, are pretty much being planned right now, so those roadway connections would be in place.
Okay, other technical questions regarding disposition? Back to Kathy.
Try again. Hey, it works. The dotted line around the edge of the property is the current golf course property.
Yes,
This concept shows green space that looks like a park trail outside that golf course boundary. Does that mean anything at this point?
that looks like the area on the very south side.
Yeah, on the south side.
The black line is just the general limits of the golf course area. I think that line across that shows a future trail potential along the back side of that commercial development. Is that the area you're talking?
Yes, so that would be yet to be negotiated with owners of those commercial properties.
I could say worst case scenario, if it gets pushed onto the park property, I still think there's going to be a trail along the back side of those properties.
Okay, and it looks like a major new, maybe that regional stormwater pond is that large pond just north of
Yes. We will number.
of that boundary that we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Alan, Westfield being extended into the property and then connecting to, I can't see what that.
Keller.
Keller?
Yep.
Okay. What is the cost of that? And who's going to absorb that?
The city is going to pay for the extension of the road and the utilities. And that's not part of the Oshkosh Corp responsibility. It's not part of the TIF. That's something that the city's paying for out of existing proceeds. I believe Mr. Roloff and Ms. Larson, and the finance director, they have to borrow about $760,000 in 2018 to pay for part of that project. So that's the amount of borrowing. The rest of it comes from existing city funds, is what I've been told.
So taxpayers are going to pay for that.
Well, the taxpayers have already borrowed the money, or it's already in the city coffers.
And is it going to be traffic lights or is it going to be a traffic circle?
It's an excellent question. We want to do a traffic impact analysis. I'm expecting it to be lights right now, and I do expect we're going to have to make modifications to the roundabout there at Keller and 21.
Okay. Other technical questions from our various boards and commissions? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to public commentary. Remember, we'll have a 3-minute time limit on each comment, and please step up to the mic, state your name and address. Who would like to go first? Thank you, ma'am.
Nope.
Shonda Anderson, 542 West 16th. First, I want to thank Alan and Darren and probably Ray and Mark for identifying the need on the chamber, Go EDC. I mean, I don't know if everyone realizes how detrimental it is to lose 500 plus jobs, white collar jobs, that I happen to know Go EDC and the chamber have been working on getting more of in the community, and now we're potentially losing some. I understand Oshkosh Truck wasn't initially looking at Oshkosh, so I am very grateful to whoever identified the need to present them with a plan. Now, just quickly, I want to say, obviously, I support this idea because I own a business, and when Oshkosh Truck laid off years ago, I don't remember the year exactly, but they laid off in the factory, I felt it. I could feel it in my business because it trickles down. And I bet you every business owner here would say that they can feel an issue like that as well. So I support this. I say, personally, I would give it to them. Here you go, please stay in Oshkosh. That's what I would do because it means a lot to the community to have that many white collar jobs in our community. I used to golf before I bought a business or opened a business. I used to have time to golf, and I can tell you, Ray, please don't be mad at me. It was before your day. I never golfed that golf course. So I think that I personally would like to see a nice restaurant or something on there as well, just Oshkosh on the water. I say we do whatever they want to keep it, just like Fond du Lac had to do not too long ago in order to keep Mercury. Is there any chance that we can shuffle some parks people into other stuff? That would be my dream. If we could buy some parks hours and use parks employees in other areas as well. Let's get out of the business of being a golf course, and let's continue to make Oshkosh amazing by supporting one of our largest companies in the area.
Thank you, ma'am. Hey, who would like to speak next? Come on up, sir.
Hi. Oh, did I jump?
Oh, that's fine.
All right.
Go ahead.
John Damel, 455 Zarling. Just want to say that I did golf that golf course, and I love that golf course, and I learned how to play in that golf course, but it didn't do me well because I'm a terrible golfer. That being said, I'm representing the Chamber of Commerce today, and I want to just talk a little bit about collaboration in this city and how proud I am of it coming together. I mean, the city, the Chamber of Commerce, Go EDC working together, that's fantastic. We have the Parks and the Planning Commission at the same table. That's fantastic. This is how you grow as a city. I understand your concerns about the taxpayers footing the bill for it, but we'd have to build a heck of a lot more to make up for what we would lose if they went. And we need to stop looking at this as a loss and looking at it as a gain, you know, from recreational use to public park space. I mean, my wife refused to learn how to golf, and she should see how beautiful that property is. We're gaining 65 acres of parkland, not losing 35. So I support it. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I mean, this is going to be another Menominee, you know, another place where we can have family reunions and take prom pictures. That's exciting. That's really exciting to me. And the level of collaboration and this community coming together, I don't think I've ever seen that. So I would pay attention to that, and it's a fantastic thing. And I think everybody here that's come out, and I think everybody that's spoke, and I appreciate all the sessions that you guys have given the community to come out and talk about this. And you guys have a lot of these meetings, and you've had a lot of people come out and have comments on it. So you've really had an open ear to this, and I applaud you for that. And I applaud you for getting this far. And it's about time Oshkosh starts winning. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Who's next? Come on up, sir.
Hi, I'm Mark DeSone with Boys and Girls Club of Oshkosh. My address is 501 East Parkway here in Oshkosh. I'll just speak from the side of impact that the company has on nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club. So that company's corporate support for the club as one entity in Oshkosh has gone on for generations. Incredibly significant. So while we're sitting here tonight and having this conversation over at the club tonight, I can tell you we've got kids getting help with their homework, we have kids getting fed, we have kids getting basic services met. Oshkosh Corp has continued to be a part of that over the years. My concern is, and I'm sure there are other organizations that they have helped as well, my concern is that if they leave, out of sight, out of mind. And I look up here and I see this, I'm thinking if they are not there, I don't know who's going to be standing behind who would come up with a proposal like they've come up with to do some good here on this property and for the community. So then my concern would be if they left, you have this still being a golf course that loses money, and you have all those buildings that they were in that are now vacant. So I'd like to see this stay as a win for the community, a win for families, a win for Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who's next?
Good evening. My name is Bert Tower, 933 Starboard Court here in Oshkosh. I do appreciate the difficulty of the decision you folks have to make, particularly with all the pressures that are placed upon you. I also appreciate the opportunity to make a few comments here tonight, real short, if I can. First of all, just kind of in the way of background, I'm kind of a retired citizen living here now. We've lived here for 40 years, very much a part of the community. During those 40 years, my family and I have made great use of the quality of life features within this community, including the golf course. They're important to us. We don't want to lose quality of life features, and we fully recognize their importance. Also, as an individual, a little bit on my background, I got a doctorate in business economics, public policy, been involved in local government here, served 4 terms on the council, 2 terms as mayor, been a faculty member in business schools at 3 universities for 42 years, teaching business and economics, part of GO EDC that is out there. I've served in the community foundation. In these areas, I think I've developed a good understanding of businesses in this community, both large and small, and of the economics of this community. I think I have a good background for that. I've had a chance to observe it and be a part of it for a lot of years. But with that background, I really want to make just a couple of points here. The first is, I think that inclusion of the golf course in the proposal is absolutely critical to the success of the proposal. without the golf course being included, without your decision, a positive decision here tonight, it's going to be very difficult for the proposal to be successful. And believe me, we're in a competitive environment. I've seen this in a number of other communities. We are in a competitive environment. It's just not us in Oshkosh Corp. So I think the inclusion is critical if we're going to be successful, and it's going to be a tough trip to be successful, even if it is included. The second point is that while I understand all the dimensions and all the pros and cons, I think in the end it comes down to this. I think there are alternatives in terms of quality of life features to the golf course as it exists at the current time. There are other golf courses that are readily available within the area, a couple within 10 or 15 minutes of that golf course, probably 10 within 40 minutes, plus a number of other quality of life features. So I think there are alternatives. We do not have an alternative, and I doubt we will have an alternative to Oshkosh Corp. Oshkosh Corp does not have their headquarters here. I think there's going to be a deterioration in their relationship over time. We saw this with Kimberly-Clark when they moved their headquarters out of Neenah. I think we'll see it here. So I think our future is heavily dependent on keeping Oshkosh Corporation here, and I don't think we have any realistic alternatives if Oshkosh Corp should leave. I think we do have alternatives in terms of quality of life features. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, next. Chancellor Levitt.
Good evening. My name is Andy Levitt. I'm at 1423 Congress Avenue. I also want to rise in support of this proposal for the golf course in Oshkosh Corp. What I would point out, as I did in a column I wrote earlier, that about 600 or so UW Oshkosh graduates have found homes in working for Oshkosh Corporation over the years. Oshkosh Corporation provides fantastic high-paying entry-level positions, particularly on the white-collar side for our college graduates. We want young people to find a home and be welcomed and included in Oshkosh. We need to make sure they have good-paying jobs. And I think that's what Oshkosh Corporation has provided all of these years. So I hope that you'll support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Next. Come on up, man.
I'm Connie Drexler, and my address is 1559 Georgia. I'm here tonight on behalf of the West Side Association. As an organization dedicated to the growth and development of the West Side of Oshkosh, West Side Association enthusiastically endorses and encourages the sale of a portion of Lakeshore Golf Course to Oshkosh Corporation for their new corporate headquarters. We see this transaction as vital to the continued growth and prosperity of our community and feel that the city must do everything in its power to retain Oshkosh Corporation's leadership here at the place the company is named for. Whether they realize it or not, every citizen in Oshkosh is touched by Oshkosh Corporation. Family and friends work there, or they work for companies that Oshkosh does business with. Oshkosh donates thousands of dollars every year to charitable causes, providing much needed support to places like the Boys and Girls Club, Christine Ann Center, and more. Their support for programs at the Leach Amphitheater and the Grand Opera House help keep the price of admission affordable for working families. Oshkosh Corp wages support hundreds of families in our area, allowing them to buy houses, vehicles, go on vacations, dine at area restaurants, purchase clothing and household goods, etc., etc. Property taxes paid by Oshkosh Corp and their employees help keep our streets in good repair and help pay for city services such as garbage pickup, street lights, and more. Their taxes also support our public schools and the technical college, ensuring your children get a good education. To imagine life in Oshkosh without Oshkosh Corporation is a bleak vision. Dozens of high-end houses will suddenly flood the market as management moves out, with few buyers having the means to purchase them. That will drive down the value of every home in the Oshkosh area, including yours and mine. As those families leave town, our public school enrollment will decrease, along with the per capita that our schools receive for each child. This means our schools will have even tighter budgets and may begin deferring maintenance again, and our students will be forced to do without technology and extracurricular activities and the arts. Retail stores and restaurants will close due to lack of business, leaving lots of empty storefronts and buildings throughout the community. Companies that supply the Oshkosh corporate offices with goods and services will lose revenue as well, putting many of them out of business. More people will leave Oshkosh because there will be fewer living wage jobs, putting our community in a downward spiral that could take generations to overcome. While it may seem like an exaggerated doom and gloom scenario, I assure you it really is not. For the past 20 years, our various community leaders have fought hard to bring us out of the shadow of Appleton, and as the result is Oshkosh has become a wonderful community with so much going for it. And we're still in the midst of a renaissance that promises to keep Oshkosh on a forward trajectory. We cannot afford to let Oshkosh Corporation leave our community now or ever. We need them way more than they need us. So please pass this resolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Mike Russell, 1118 Bowen Street, Oshkosh. I want to thank the city staff for all of the work they've done on this project and for being proactive. Everything that I was going to say, Connie said, and I have to applaud her for all the work she did and her kind words. I support the project, and let's get it done.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak on this item today?
My name is Jason White. I'm the CEO of the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. Our organization has taken the position that we, obviously, as you know, that we support the sale of Lakeshore land to Oshkosh Corporation, as this is the only site that meets all of the company's criteria in the community of Oshkosh. One of the things that I've heard a few times is that because I'm not from here, that maybe I don't have the appreciation or the understanding of history or maybe some of the things that have happened in the community over time. But I think also as someone who's newer to the community, has moved with family here a couple of years ago, I also have some fresh perspectives that I think I can offer too. One of the things that I have found very interesting from this conversation is how we talk about our parks, how we define what is a park. And one of the things that I have had a hard time understanding, maybe in the business of marketing and trying to bring more businesses and people to our community, is why we don't count all the parkland in our calculation of parkland in our community. Obviously, Lakeshore is been termed a park by a number of people. Obviously, you have to pay to use that park, unlike a number of other parks in the community. One area we don't consider a park within our city limits is County Park. That's not included in our calculation of the number of acres. When you include that, minus Lakeshore, we actually have an increase in the number of parkland in our community versus what we have today with Lakeshore. So I think that's a very important topic to mention. Additionally, I think it's important to also appreciate the work that's being done by the neighborhood leaders in our community to take a number of the school parks, school playgrounds, and convert them into more usable multi-purpose parks in our community. That's also not included in the calculation of parks in our community. Also, obviously, we're going to add some additional parkland from this, so that'll also be a net increase in usable parkland in our community. And finally, I think has been mentioned a number of different times, is probably the biggest source of recreation are the rivers and lakes that surround our community. And obviously, that's not can be included in anybody's calculation of parks and public land in our community. But certainly, that's important to mention in the larger conversation that we're having here tonight and throughout this conversation. And I think finally, by all standards, moving forward with this land for Oshkosh Corporation doesn't deter our community's efforts to support recreation in our community. We still have 30 golf courses within a 30-mile radius. But by and large, the most important thing that we can do as a community, for all concerned, is to support maybe the largest economic development opportunity that we're all going to see in our lifetime. And that is to help our company, for the first time in its 100-year history, build a Fortune 500 world world-class headquarters here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Thank you, sir. Next up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carly Grabner, and I live at 1910 Cliffview Court. I'm here on behalf of myself and my family, not my job. But some background on me, I have 10 years experience at the Chamber of Commerce and now 10 years experience with the Community Foundation. So both huge supporters of this project, as well as myself and my family personally. I echo everything Connie said and said it so well too. This would be a tragedy if this vote wasn't 100% yes for the future of our community and this great place that I and so many people are proud to live in. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up. Come on up. Good evening. I'm John Davids, 1560 Arboretum Drive. And I just want to say, when I see these potential, I don't know the term, but anyway, the layout there that I'm seeing up there, what I'm excited about is the opportunity for greater recreation opportunities nearer to me. Seeing the opportunity for those ponds, I don't know if they're going to be meant for fishing for bluegills or whatever, but my kids happen to play hockey, and there isn't a really good place for people to ice skate in this town outdoors. I think all those little ponds, one of them probably creates an opportunity for outdoor ice skating, which all of us in the room are of an age that was probably part of our past. I'd love to see that for the future. Those bike trails and walking trails that connect the wheel wash and the new trail alongside the highway. Right now, I mean, I like to ride my bike around, but having to come down Oshkosh Avenue on the sidewalks is not ideal. So obviously, I think everyone in town, even people who want to retain the golf course, want Oshkosh Corp to stay in town. But the recreational opportunities that this presents for the entire community, not just golfers, I think is fantastic. So look forward to seeing it happen. Thank you, sir. Next up. Going once. Twice. Okay, that closes public commentary. Back to the board and the commission. How would you like to proceed with just discussion as we normally would? All right, thoughts, folks? Already votes are taken. Time to chat. Yep.
Wow. And again, I come from a standpoint, I did economic development for our corporation. I've closed down a couple of our facilities in other communities in Kentucky and Florida. I've seen the negative impact that was indicated. I've seen those negative impacts firsthand, and they are far-reaching through the community. It isn't just, oh, we pulled out and the people got laid off. It was retail businesses, it was loss of tax revenue, it was loss of a lot of other things. And so I've seen that, and I don't dwell on the negatives, I try to dwell on the positives, and I look at the positives here in trying to keep Oshkosh Corp's headquarters. I can't emphasize how important that is here for economic development, not only for Oshkosh Corporation, but for other corporations around here that have difficulties. I know it's extremely difficult to try and get talented people to move here from New York, from Chicago, or wherever they are to join in some of these higher level jobs and higher in white collar jobs. It's just difficult. Having a Fortune 500 company here with a world headquarters speaks volumes as far as when people start to look for other things, as does the amenities and things in quality of life issues. And I don't look at this, I think somebody said we're not losing 35 acres, we're gaining 65 acres of park space that's more available to a higher percentage of people in Oshkosh than what its current use is. And for me, having looked at some of these things, and we've talked about this in the Planning Commission, it gives us a bigger park over on the west side, so I don't have to travel as far to get to a park when I want to go there. So there's a lot of positives for this that I'm looking at, that I can only hope that we can put a package set forth, Oshkosh Corp, that will retain them here and not leave, because them leaving is probably worse off. As I said, I mean, if we lose 500 jobs, and whether they go someplace else in Wisconsin or they go to a different state, that's potentially 400 or 500 homes or apartments that are going up for sale. So there's a lot of things and a lot of impacts that would happen to retail businesses, and some of those businesses are going to go out of business simply because you've got a white collar workforce that spends a good deal of money. I don't know what impact that would have on the normal workforce. I would think that over time it would make it much easier for Oshkosh Corp to decide to expand their facilities elsewhere rather than bring it here. I know from my company standpoint, when I came to work for them 25 years ago, we were about 400, 500 people. We're now 2,000 people. And that has had a dramatic impact on the city of Britain. And that company's continuing to expand, and it's one of the largest in the world, if not the largest commercial laundry manufacturer in the world. And now right down the street, we also have Oshkosh Corp, who will be expanding also. I know they have they have the thought process of trying to expand their company, just like any company does. So I'd be in favor of this land disposition for the purpose of pursuing the project with Oshkosh Corp.
Thank you, sir. Other thoughts, comments? Go ahead, John, and then Kathy.
First off, I just want to say that when I first joined the Plan Commission 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago, I never expected to be taking part of something this big, the entire city of Oshkosh. And to put a little bit into perspective of what Mr. Tomes was saying, for a period of time, I used to work security at the busiest gate at Oshkosh Corp. I'll guarantee you there were no less than 50 or 60 different companies that would visit me throughout a week coming through that gate. And I would see people from businesses from all around the area, but I would also see individual, personally owned truckers with their wife and their dog come in, delivering stuff from around the country just because they were hired to bring a load in. So, I mean, it's not just Oshkosh. I mean, we have all these people coming into Oshkosh because of Oshkosh Corporation. And, I mean, I have goosebumps tonight because this is one of those things, this is one of those situations. It's like thinking, my dad retired from Mercury Marine and after working there for 32 years, and all the stuff that went on in Fond du Lac was after he retired. His boss I still hunt with, so I still keep tabs on the company, and a company I used to work with, I actually used to work for Mercury as a subcontractor. But I know how close it was and what a ghost town it was going to become, because I know when I was a teenager, my dad was already threatened with going to Stillwater. So I know what we went through with that. And if you pull out the headquarters little by little, everything else is going to go to wherever that headquarters is. And we're going to see everything shrinking in Oshkosh. And it's not going to just affect Oshkosh Corp. It's not going to just affect local businesses. It's going to affect local companies that supply the simplest of things to this company. I mean, you have paint companies, tool dye companies. You just go down and down and down the list. I mean, this probably will impact hundreds of businesses. So I think it behooves us, especially in regard to opening up parkland to the entire city. And I know I have a brother who lives right out in this area by 21, and he bikes all the time, and he would love having a trail where he could actually bike through the city and go all the way down the river. So I hope that everybody here supports this, because I know I will be supporting it.
Thank you. Kathy?
Try this microphone again. Well, as you all know, I made a strong statement on behalf of the golf course and parks at our last joint workshop. And I'm not unhappy that I did that. Because I think that and the community's support for Lakeshore and parks has started a really good community conversation about the need for parks and awareness of the need. And people are starting to use that figure about 440 acres and all that came out of the park plan that Parks Board member knew, and I guess I knew because I studied it a little bit. But that's good. Let's keep up this conversation, and let's use this opportunity where, in a sense, it's a loss of parkland, 35 acres, but we can gain more parkland. We can buy more. We need to buy more on the west side. So I'm urging the Parks Board, Parks Director, and the City Council to provide some funding. And I hope some funding comes indirectly or directly through this sale. I'd made that statement also. And I don't know, I saw in the newspaper a few comments about what the financial plan is, and that's not our purview here tonight. But I'm hoping that it will be possible to create whatever new park improvements will be on this 65 acres at about the same time as Oshkosh Corp builds their new headquarters, if they do build their new headquarters. Is that a possible scenario, Alan?
I believe that is a possible scenario. I think the Parks Board has a golden opportunity to take a look at that, not only the 65 acres, but also whatever needs they have around the city for parkland.
I'm talking about funding for it.
Oh, the funding piece, that is the council's purview, but the proposal that was submitted to Oshkosh Corp would mean they'd pay $3.5 million for that 35 acres. So in theory, there'd be $3.5 million to take care of golf course and other park needs.
Okay, I hope so. I hope so. Well, so in any case, I made call it a compromise statement at the council, and I intend to honor that I will vote in favor of this. I'm delighted that you've removed other commercial development from the concept, including that little bitty restaurant. And so this looks much better. And of course, we all want to keep Oshkosh Corporation for the reasons that have been stated. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Other thoughts, comments before any voting occurs?
Can I make my motion?
You can make a motion anytime.
So before we do the motion, just one thing that concerns me with your question about 3.5 billion, where that goes. There does seem a lot of uncertainty with where that would go. It does sound like the city is putting an awful lot of money into the investment of the infrastructure to work for this for Oshkosh Corp. And with the incentives that Oshkosh Corp sits over the next 12 years also, that's another concern. It doesn't feel like there's a big plan for this park space to be developed anytime soon, because a lot of the money is going to this project, and tax dollars being taken away from the city that would be coming for this. So it does seem like a lot of what we talk about is the possibility that this could happen, and there's an opportunity that this could happen, but there's nothing in our plans that would say that this beautiful park or space will be happening anytime soon because of the cost of this project initially. So that is a concern that I have. Is there's nothing that I've read in my packet or anything that I've read that said that this is going to happen at the same time. The Parks Board has a chance to master plan this. We have a chance to to build on this thing, but there's nothing that says that could be a ways away, and that's a concern that I have.
I'd like to address Prop's question as well, because my understanding is that if this were to go forward with Oshkosh Corp, they would like to break ground in spring, April, or May. I think that's going to be very quick for us to get enough community input on what's going to take place on those 65 acres. That could take us that long to get a decent plan in place. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 3 months. It's going to take 6-7 months to get a plan that ultimately has to come to the Plan Commission from the Parks Board, but also to the Common Council. So having it developed at the same time is probably out of the question. But I think at the same time, then, Tony, to your question, that's up to the council on, if it does go through, what amount of money is set aside for this project. And again, seeing the proposal, I know there is money set aside that they would look to put in to this property and possibly helping with some of the deferred projects that were at Rainbow Park and some of those master plans. So I don't want people to be disillusioned that this is going to happen in spring, because it could take us that long, and you have to bid out projects and everything else that takes place. So it's a little time.
So Ray, you're saying that possibly Lakeshore Golf Course is not open next year?
If this project goes forward by the Common Council and the Oshkosh Corp decides that's a parcel they would like, that would be the case.
Okay. And then Alan, with that, as you said, $3.5 million is the sale price?
Yes.
So out of that $3.5 million, $800,000 goes to pay off that debt?
That is going to be completely up to the council. I know that debt exists, but that is something the finance director and the city manager are probably in a better position to advise the council on how to spend that money. That's not within my purview.
Okay.
One thing within my purview is constructing the Riverwalk, and that Riverwalk that goes from Anoqua all the way over to the Tribal Heritage. That is in the proposal to Oshkosh Corp that we would build that as part of their project and get that done in 18 and 19, so we don't have to construct it after they've built their headquarters. So that'd be done in 18 or 19 whenever the bids are done.
Okay, I've been on the Parks Board for 20 years. So now, just so nobody thinks this park is going to get done when this passes, we all kind of figured that already, that this parkland is going to happen around Oshkosh Corp's new headquarters. I mean, I've been, like I said, I've been on here 20 years, and the Parks Board gets to build one little playground a year, or one little bathroom a year, or something like that. And you talk about big money to fix up 65 acres, the city isn't going to give it to you. So if you think this is going to get done in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, when we have master plans, we do it for 5, 10, and 15 years. So if anybody thinks they're going to take 35 acres out of the middle of this golf course and the rest is going to be fun for everybody to walk around and ice skate, and I go along with the ice skating, we haven't got any in town. But anyway, if you think you're going to have that, it ain't going to happen. So, like I said, this is going to pass. We know that. But the land around it, it's just going to be land around it. By the time they get done building, there isn't going to be anything on that thing for 5, 10 years, if that.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion.
Pardon. Oh, we got another one like to speak. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Terry. I think it's important that everybody has the same right expectations regardless, though. I think it is so, so, so important that we support Oshkosh Corp and that we move forward with this.
Time for a motion. Third time's a charm.
Anybody else?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for land disposition to the city.
Garrett?
Nay.
Ogaleski?
No.
Hoffman? Miller?
Aye.
Roll? Aye. Schuessler? Fuller?
No.
5 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay, moving on to the Plan Commission. Let's start with John and Jeff. You make a motion anytime.
Then I would like to make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, moving, any discussion on the motion? Kathy?
When I said do it at the same time, I recognize that the city's got processes. It isn't going to happen literally at the same time. But I still think, I don't want to be doom and gloom on this. We all need to push city council to make this a priority. If Oshkosh Corp stays here, they build their, we're not gonna, I don't intend to let this sit for 5 or 10 years. I'm gonna be down nagging them until they get so tired that they'll try to put some effort into parks for once. So let's all get behind parks, for gosh sakes, and make this, if Oshkosh Corp does stay here, which I hope it does, let's help this funding happen so that the Parks Board can put together a nice plan for us.
All right, any other discussion before we take a vote? Okay, Deb, call the roll. All right.
Aye.
Okay, is there anything else for us today, folks? All right, with that, call to adjourn, motion to adjourn? For a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're done.